you can't even mention Harry's name around Prince William for, of course, well, having a dark cloud. Well, one would expect that. Now, it looks like Harry's about to come back faster than people think. As ever, let me explain.
According to a newspaper that now sits very comfortably in bed with Meghan and Harry, publicity-wise, of course, the situation inside Kensington Palace is so tense that you can't even mention Harry's name around Prince William without summoning a dark cloud. Frankly, would anyone be surprised? After years in which the younger brother has been, at turns, disingenuous, unkind, and cruel to virtually every branch of his own family. That tension isn't a palace rumor. It's the natural consequence of scorched earth decisions. But the Sussex rhythm never stays quiet for long. When the spotlight dims and the celebrity dose runs dry, the pattern repeats. A turn, a pivot, another bid for center stage. Earlier this week, Harry made precisely that move. One that cost him quite a lot of money and raised quite a few eyebrows. The gesture should have landed as a crowd-pleasing headline. Instead, world events swallowed it whole. A terrible assassination in the United States reverberated around the globe. And whatever PR lift the donation was meant to deliver simply didn't. The hit didn't hit. Which is why, insiders say, Harry is gearing up to come back into the UK frame far sooner than most people think. The former royal, known as the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, popped back earlier this week, hearing applause in his own mind, if not in the aisles. Those aisles, in fact, were strikingly empty. Sways and swathes where nobody seemed keen to pay homage. Perhaps that's the part the Mail on Sunday, or the Daily Mail, wouldn't want to pin down too tightly.
Maybe this could be the bigger problem that the Mail on Sunday, or indeed the Daily Mail, don't like to report.
Not only is public fascination with Meghan Markle's faltering brand a waning magnet, it may actually be a repellent now. People rubberneck at a crash. They don't book a seat for one. As for Harry himself, what does he do anymore? He's not a working royal. He doesn't run anything. That identity void is the vacuum his PR scrambles to fill. To his credit, while up in Nottingham, he made a substantial donation to children in need, the BBC's marquee charity telethon. Once a national juggernaut in the ratings, it's less of a cultural event now, hobbled by questions that have dogged the BBC in recent years about how funds were, or weren't, managed. Still, the brand remains powerful enough to move hearts, and Harry's check was meant to underline his goodwill. According to sources, that was not the end of the UK overture. It was the opening chord. The charity holds its grand telethon in mid-November, just ahead of Christmas, and they've invited Harry to appear, either live in the studio, via satellite, or in a specially filmed segment. From a broadcaster's point of view, it's ratings gold. Controversy plus a famous face equals curiosity. From Harry's point of view, it's good optics, good ego bomb, and a chance to trumpet good deeds while edging closer, oh so carefully, toward the royal orbit he once swore off. That's the subtext. Align yourself with a beloved national fundraiser, bathe in its glow, and present as the good son doing good things. It's a soft focus rebrand, and it might have worked flawlessly, if not for the timing, because just a couple of weeks after Children in Need makes noise, Catherine, Princess of Wales, hosts her annual carol concert, by now a cherished, dignified pageant that reliably lifts the monarchy's public standing in the lead-up to Christmas. So Harry linking arms, however lightly, with the BBC ahead of Catherine's event is notable. Some will see coincidence. Others will see a chess move. Step into the country's charitable calendar precisely where the firm traditionally shines. There's a further twist that older viewers won't have forgotten. Prince William, recall, denounced the BBC over its treatment of his late mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, after the Martin Bashir scandal. That rebuke was not a throwaway line. It was a line in the sand,
Well, according to sources, Harry hasn't done with his return back here to the UK, and this is all down to that particular charity.
For Harry now to embrace a BBC telethon feels, at best, awkward. At worst, like a decision made in defiance of family wounds rather than in deference to them. Any port in a storm, some might shrug, because what else is on offer? When the options narrow, principles can begin to bend. And then there's the long tail of reputational drag. As one observer put it in odd phrasing, Centre Barley has done a lot to damage Harry's charitable sort of renditions. However you parse that line, the meaning is plain enough. A string of missteps, mixed messages, and muddled causes has blunted the sharp edge of Harry's philanthropic profile. A live TV moment, a well-crafted remote, or even a polished pre-filmed piece could, he hopes, put him back on track. That calculus explains why the Children in Need invitation matters. It's not just a spot on a sofa. It's an audition for the British public's forgiveness. Will Harry appear live, taking unpredictable questions and leaning into the risk? Or will he opt for the safety of satellite, where latency and distance mute the intimacy? Will he package a glossy film cut to touching music? Or stand unvarnished, asking viewers to give for children, not for him? Each choice telegraphs intent. Each frame either knits him a little closer to the national fabric or peels him a little further away. Now, step back and consider the palace politics. If the paper cozy with the Sussexes is right, and if merely saying Harry around William really does cast a shadow, then any high-profile BBC embrace is bound to irritate. William set a principled position after Bashir. It wasn't symbolic theater. The BBC's misdeeds rewounded an old grief. For Harry to clasp the corporation now suggests that the younger brother's rehabilitation strategy runs on a different track than the family's moral memory. That dissonance, repeated often enough, becomes the drumbeat people hear, louder than any charity total flashed on a screen. Timing is everything in royal PR. A donation in Nottingham that gets buried by a global assassination. Shock is a reminder that manufactured moments can be swallowed by real-world gravity in a blink. If your goodwill requires perfect conditions to be noticed, the goodwill isn't deep enough. It's decorative. The path back, if there is one, isn't a sequence of stunts, but a season of service. That's the lesson the late Queen modeled for 70 years. You do the work without insisting the camera be present. The camera follows service. It does not create it. So, what happens next? If Children in Need proceeds with a Sussex segment, watch the framing. If it's Harry first and cause second, expect the public to bristle. If the cause is centered, with Harry lending his name and stepping back from the spotlight, the reception could soften. The audience is older now, wiser, and far less willing to be managed. They can spot the difference between a donation meant to bless a charity and a donation meant to rescue a brand. And what of Meghan in this tableau? Even when she's not physically present, she hovers in the margins because the brand is joint. The choices are joint. The aftershocks are joint. The newspaper that carried water for the Sussexes on the dark cloud story knows this. Headlines about William's frostiness are not accidental. They're scene-setting for a comeback act that casts Harry as misunderstood outsider rather than prodigal son. But Britain is not Broadway. The audience is not a focus group. It's a nation with a long memory and a finely tuned ear for sincerity. To the question so many of you ask, can Harry come back? In a narrow technical sense, yes. Any public figure can walk onto a stage and read an appeal to camera. The deeper question is whether the country wishes him to. That answer is earned in the dull, untelevised hours. Hospital corridors without photographers. Youth centers without press releases. Patronages quietly steadied, not loudly launched. If he wants a future in the place he once called home, he must stop playing against his brother's shadow and start playing for Britain's children. No caveats, no cutaways. And then there's Catherine's carol concert. Dignity. Grace and community wrapped in candlelight. Place Harry's BBC moment just ahead of that, and you have a test in miniature. Spectacle versus steadiness. Brand versus belonging. If Harry chooses depth over dazzle, the contrast need not be a confrontation. If he chases heat, he'll find that the monarchy, like the Wicked Lady, endures not because it shocks, but because it understands its audience and tells a story larger than any single star. So, yes, the paper says William carries a cloud at the mere mention of his brother. Yes, Harry's big donation was dimmed by a darker global headline. Yes, a Children in Need invitation dangles as an easy ratings win and a tricky family riddle. And yes, aligning with the BBC after William's Bashir stand is a strange move, unless you believe, as some do, that any port in a storm will do. But storms end. Reputations remain. If Harry wants his to weather the season, he'll need more than a studio light and a satellite link. He'll need the one thing celebrity can't counterfeit: patience, applied to service, not to PR. Report filed from the heart of London.